The Condor King Kukri. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So you probably noticed that I'm wearing my 5.0 Posse t-shirt. I was just informed by the purveyor of that detail that in September of this year, we're going to have another car show, which last year turned out awesome. Although I won't be presenting any cars or vehicles. If you're a car guy, mechanic, somebody that does vehicle products, that kind of thing, it's probably going to be worth it for you to get there. Last year was excellent. It was a beautiful day out, and we had a great time. Now, I'm going to have my knives there, so Three River Blades will have a table there. So if you want to come meet me, do some photos, do some hangouts, whatever you want to do, I will be there. So stay tuned for all that information. It's going to be in September of 2023. So save your money, come on out, hang out. The food was great last year. We had a great time. There was live music, a whole bunch of good stuff going on. So stay tuned for that. All right, so what we're going to talk about today, the King Kukri is made by Condor. All right, I was kind of a little bit skeptical of this, and I had my reasons, and we're going to get into that in a second. But just to give you a little bit of information, this is not to be confused with the heavy duty Kukri. The heavy duty Kukri is a lot smaller, and it came out first. Then you had the K-Tech Kukri. All right, so Alan Kay was the one that came up with the K-Tech Kukri, and then finally this came out. All right, it's a lot larger. The weight is pretty decent. I'm not going to say it's heavier, but I still had some issue with this, and we're going to get into that in a second. First thing I want to do is just give you a little bit of specs real quick. All right, so its blade length is 12.6. Overall is 18.8. 1075 high carbon steel. The thickness 6 mils thick. All right, it is a convex grind, bead blasted walnut handle, and the designer is Joe Flowers. If you don't know who Joe Flowers is, he's an outdoorsman. He's got all kinds of degrees in outside technology, all kinds of stuff like that, and he works as a designer for Condor. Now, if you don't know much about Condor, they do have some decent products, although their quality control could be somewhat of a problem. We're going to talk about that in a second. I will say that the sheath that it came in was really nice leather sheath as usual. I think the sheaths on Condors are immaculate. They're really, really nice. And of course, this one is the K-Tech, so it came with a Kydex and a dangler. So without wasting any more time, let's drop the camera and get into it. All right, guys, first things first. This thing costs about $150. All right, it used to be a lot cheaper. It is no longer cheap. Of course, inflation and the idiot that's running the country is destroying our commerce. But this in itself is decent. I'm not going to say it's awesome. That has a lot of flaws. I think for $150, you could probably get something a little bit better, in my opinion. Now, what I mean by that is the grinds itself. All right, couple things. Let's start from the walnut handle. Now, the walnut handle isn't terrible. However, it is just pinned and glued, and you could see that on some of this, I don't know where I found it, the pins are actually protruding or they're sticking out. I just want you to listen to this. All right, that's my nail. That's my nail getting under the steel, or that's my nail getting under the brass rivets. All right. Was it such a problem? Probably not, but it could be smoothed over a little bit better. And the only reason I say that is because hot spots will form, all right? While I was swinging this Kukri, you're going to see where it kind of rolled in my hand. Again, that's a problem with the edge geometry, and I'll get into that as well. The grinds themselves, what they did is they hollowed out a lot of the grinding to make this thing a little bit lighter. As you can see on the heavy and also on the K-Tech, it doesn't have any type of grinding. So I don't know if that was necessary or not, but if you are going to do it, please do a better job. You can see where there's actually little, I guess, unblemished or blemished grind lines. All right. And for $150, you're probably going to want to have that smoothed out. All right. So it's just a big gouge right here. And that's fine to lighten up the load, but I think what you got to do is a better job at grinding. All right, this is and you can see it in the light right here. If you look at this tip, all right, I don't know if you can see it. but you can see where it's not smoothed over. Now I understand that they coated it, and again, this rust that's forming at the end, that's my fault. That's not Condor's. I put it in there. It was probably a little wet outside because I was using this and I wanted to show that I used it, right? The other big problem that I have with these Kukris is the fact that the edge geometry is too thick, all right? So it's an axe. You're swinging an axe. And what happens is if you're swinging an axe like a sword, what's going to happen is it's going to bounce all over the place, all right? And that's what causes it, if you hit something, to roll in your hand. Now, you can put a lanyard hole in it, and I think that that's probably a better way from it to fall. It's probably a better way to go about it, but all I had was gloves or my naked hand. So let's talk a little bit about the edge geometry. Now, you can see on this one, this is my heavy, where I had to take down a lot, I mean a lot of steel off there. Now I have the ability to do that being a knife maker. Again, I took a lot of the thickness out of the blade edge. I don't want an axe. If I'm going to carry an axe, I'll carry an axe. So this being so thick as it is, made it very difficult, and it makes it very taxing. Now, on the K-Tac, they got it right. All right, this was very, very thin, a very, very high grind. It actually makes the blade lighter. So just want to give you guys an idea. This is my caliper. Let's set it to 0. So the blade thickness on the top end, all right, on the spine, is a little bit over 6 mil, so 6.3, okay? Now let's look at the edge geometry before I corrected it. Before I corrected it, it was 5.5. That's pretty damn thick. All right, 4.5 and 6 mil back here. All right, so that is before I corrected it. You can see where the grind started from back here and went all the way down. It's still only 1 mil off. That's a very, very thick blade. And you might say, well, we want that because we want to hit it, right? We want to really get some chunks out. I get that 100%. The problem is that this starts bouncing all over the place instead of biting into the wood. You need it to bite into the wood to make a chip. If I'm just smashing this piece of wood, all I'm doing is beating it up. All right, so now let's look at the K-Tac. All right, K-Tac happens to be my favorite, if you hadn't already figured it out. But let's look at the K-Tac. All right, the K-Tac spine thickness is 5.1 mils. Right. Let's look at the edge geometry. 2.9 mils. All right. Little bit different, right? So it's a thinner blade overall, but you can see where the spine from up here made it very, very thin. And then all I did, I don't know if you could see that on the K-Tac, all I did was just add a little V-edge. So I did get a little bit of rolling, and that's only because I hit a couple of rocks. Again, not Condor's fault, but again, very, very thick, heavy-duty Kukri. That grind is no bueno, so I had to fix it. So let's look at the King Kukri. So again, I'll zero it out. All right. At the spine, you're looking at 5.5. All right, so almost 6 mil. And again, they can be off by a little bit. I get it, you know, depending on who your grinder is. And then right where it's almost a bevel, it's 5.3. So I'm not even kidding. 5.3. I don't know if you could see that. All right, that's 5.3. So from here down, 5.3 all the way to the blade edge. Let me just give you an idea what the blade edge is. I'll go all the way at the top. It's almost 2 mil, right? It's 1.98 before it actually drops into an edge. All right, so that's way too thick. Again, I'm going to have to reprofile it. All right, so is this a better Kukri? In my opinion, well, I'll tell you what. Once I fix the edge, yeah, it's going to be a great Kukri. Once I fix these pins that are sticking up, yeah, it'll be great. All right, on both sides, they stick up. They stick up. Look here, I'll put my fingernail under it. Wait. Let's see. So yeah, once they fix that, that's not a problem. You know, 1075 is supposed to be machete steel, or it's a little bit softer than 1095 or 1085. So yeah, that's a decent steel. Will it rust? Sure, if you don't take care of it. But again, for $150, it should come with an edge that will actually cut right out of the box, not bounce all the way around. I'm not beating up Condor. I know Condor is everything's made in El Salvador, and maybe they have a little bit of different type of quality control, but you can just see from the plain eye how bad some of these grinds are. All right. So in my opinion, what I would probably go with is probably the one from K-Tac. All right. Now, they're very similarly priced. I think this one's on sale for about $100. This might be a little bit more. And then, of course, this one is $150. All right. So I like the length of the Kukri. I think it allows more chopping power. I think that if, Condor sorts out its grinding issues and does a little bit more refinement, I think it would be fine. And of course, pay a little bit more attention to detail. Just don't fill it in with epoxy paint. I've seen that a lot on Condor blades. And I mentioned the sheets. The sheets are outstanding. All right. Very, very simple design, and it's very, very well done. I'm a big fan of Condor's leather sheets. I never had a problem with it. I didn't wear it for too long. If you notice in the video, I was carrying this in my pack, not on my belt, but you could as a dangler. Again, the only difference between the Kukris is that the K-Tech comes with a Kydex sheath, which is a little bit more durable, and it does have a dangler, which you can take off if you wanted to, but this is very well done. All right, it does have a butt cap where the other ones do not. All right, so let's kick it back up top and let's finish up. All right, guys, so what's my overall thoughts on the King Kukri? I think the King Kukri is a decent blade. If Condor fixes that grind, all right, there's no reason why this thing needs to be this thick. It's 1075. It should be able to cut any type of woods in the north, south, east, or west. It should be able to do that. I do like the fact that as long as it's actually a little bit lighter than the heavy duty Kukri. So that's kind of neat. It's kind of nice. The fact that this is super heavy, and even though this is longer, all right, it's lighter. Right, so that's kind of cool. The only complaint again I had was the fact that this grind is just not going to work for me. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to turn it in. I know somebody's going to say, well, just turn it back into Condor, or Amazon will take it back. I don't want to do that. I want to regrind it and then retest it and then see if that fixes it. But again, it's for the price. I think it could be a little bit cheaper with the quality control issues that Condor is now having. If it was a little bit cheaper, I'd say it was a definite buy. If you have $150 and you're dying to get one of these, I'll put the links down below. I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you purchase this through Amazon, I get like 2 cents on a dollar, so I really appreciate that. I'll put all the links down below to my other channels as well. Check out 3 Rivers Survival and 3 River Kydex if you're interested in Kydex products. And if you want to become a Patreon member, it only costs you $1 a month, where you can watch videos like this before anybody else. And as always, guys, stay safe.